Hello, welcome back to my channel. I have a better microphone now, so I hope that that is going to help with my recording issues last time. I heard that it was a little bit hard to hear. So in this video, I have 4 different paintings. I'm starting with 3 that have 1 layer on them, and then also towards the end I'm going to bring out the painting that I worked on in my last video. And they all have 1 layer. This one that I'm looking at right now has about 1.5 layers because I had added a little bit of gold to it when I was showing somebody how to add a second layer. And so I'm going to be adding a new layer to each of them, and some of them are going to end up completed and some of them are not. I've sped this video up by about 4 times. This session took me about 2 hours altogether, and I'm posting it in about 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes. So it's going a little bit faster than it was when I actually made it. And I'm starting out with my primaries. I have cadmium red hue, cadmium yellow hue, I believe that's cobalt blue hue, and titanium white. And then I'm going to have a little pile of cold wax as well. And that's just palette paper. I like to use palette paper lately because it's easier to clean up. So there are my primaries in white. And I'm putting a little pile in the corner for the cold wax. I am wearing gloves. The cold wax contains Gamsol, which isn't great. It's a solvent, so it isn't great to touch it. And also it makes cleanup a lot easier since the wax doesn't come off very well without putting a whole lot of soap onto it. It needs a solvent usually, and I prefer not to have solvents around because those are a bit toxic. And also they're a little bit hard to keep track of. You have to dispose of them differently. So I like to not use solvents. I like to just wipe my tools at the end and then throw out the gloves and the parchment paper. I'm starting with a second layer. It's kind of opaque, and I was testing this out to see how I felt about this color combination, making it kind of a bright blue day. And so I like translucent layers, but I haven't quite figured out how to use them very well yet. So that layer is rather opaque. I put quite a bit of the titanium white into it, and the titanium white is a pretty strong white. It tends to make the colors you can't really see the layers underneath them once you have that titanium white in there. I'm trying it on a couple of different pieces, and I did like having several pieces that I had just started, and so they were in kind of a similar stage, and I could try out different things on them, kind of play around with them a little bit, and move between the different pieces. I think I liked this method of working with it a little bit better than if I just had one piece or if I had a large piece that I was trying to work on all at once, because it was enough different things that I could try different stuff out, try out some different ideas, but I didn't have to just commit to one, and I could work on it for a little while. I have that bright yellow in it, that's the cadmium yellow hue, and I've been looking at the aspens lately. And especially a few weeks ago, the aspens were really, really bright. And lately, the cottonwoods have been a very bright, very strong kind of golden yellow, slightly orangey yellow. And so I'm trying to put some of that yellow into these pieces. And you can see that's not quite as opaque. You can still see a little bit of that bottom layer underneath it at this point. Although I did keep working on it for a while and mostly ended up covering it up. I want to try in the future to cover it up a little less so that I can try to build up some maybe translucency. Some artists who work in cold wax say that one of the things that they really like about it is that you can have that translucency if you keep adding layers without having that really strong white in them. Then you'll be able to see through them a little bit. This piece had kind of a stucco texture. I had taken the back of the palette knife and I had used the flat end to make some of these little peaks and valleys. And so right here I'm putting some red into that texture. And I kind of like this effect. I think it looks pretty cool, although I might have lost it further on in the painting. I'm pretty sure I did. But I would want to try this again because I do think this is one of the strengths of this medium is you can fill in those cracks with a contrasting color or with a different color. And you get some of those really nice textural marks still showing through. So here I'm moving back to that first piece that I had started, and I'm kind of starting to put in, this one's going to have a little bit of an abstract waterfall. And in fact, this one did end up being my most abstract piece. I'm not sure yet if it's complete or if it's not, but it has the most kind of smooth look where it's blending together. And I had decided that I don't really love that blue sky look on these autumn pieces. And so I'm starting to try to blend in some different colors, see if I want some puffy clouds, or I ended up having some slightly darker clouds. This one I think is the most blue sky with puffy clouds piece that I ended up with. So I'm putting quite a bit of blue in there and quite a bit of white as well, and trying to blend them in so that they have that really soft look. And that is one of the things that I like about cold wax the best, is the way you get those really, really soft, smooth kind of transitions. And I'm going to put that aside for a minute and use some of that paint that I've started on another piece. I'm going to go back to that upright piece that I had been working on before. I wasn't super sure where I wanted to go with this one, and I might actually end up carving back a little bit because there were some really kind of cool textures and cracks going on underneath that purple paint that I was covering up right here with this yellow, I believe it was yellow ochre. This piece I'm adding a little bit more of kind of a stormy, dreary, rainy kind of day color to. And I'm not sure that it's worked out yet. I do like where the sky is going on this piece, which it's getting more of those grays and blending in those grays. I don't mind the yellow ochre, but I don't think that I quite finished this piece during this session, so I might be coming back to it later on and trying to finish it up. Something's not quite finished about it yet after this session. This one ended up being my favorite painting, and I think the one that was the most finished. You can still see a little bit of that texture down there at the bottom, and I might scrape it back when it's drier to get even more of that back. I really like the contrast between the dark of the storm cloud and that bright fall kind of colors, those bright yellows and oranges. And I also like some of the there's like purples that you can kind of see up there in the clouds that are showing through from the previous layer. So right here, I'm taking the tip, it's a little hard to see it at first, but I'm taking the tip of my palette knife and scraping it into the bottom of the painting, into that wet paint, to get these grasses. It's kind of scraping back to, there must have been some yellow underneath that brown, and I'm scraping back to show that yellow, and trying to get some of those kind of fall grasses with the little leafy frondy heads. I like that I'm able to overlap with the pond so easily since the pond is wet. And I really like this effect. I don't know that I used it for its best advantage compositionally, where they're all kind of short down there at the bottom. Maybe I should think that through a little bit more next time, instead of just kind of seeing where it takes me. Usually cold wax painters do talk about painting intuitively and just seeing where they go with their paintings, but I don't know if I actually have enough skill built yet to do that very effectively, or at least not for composition, since I'm not super used to doing these kinds of compositions. And here I'm back to that stormy, upright kind of painting. And I'm going to be adding some detail to that. I'm going to scratch into it as well after I get those colors down. Looking at it on the video, I think this state right here, right where it's at, maybe I should have stopped for a while, because I think that was the best color that I had on this painting the whole way. And you'll see it gets a little bit muddy as I go on. And that's why I might have to add some more colors later on. But for a second there, it was nice and abstract and had some interesting color composition going on. So here I am back on the waterfall themed one, and it's actually been growing on me. Every time I look at it, I think I like it a little bit better. I'm not really an abstract painter, and the painters that I've been reading and looking at books by are much more abstract than my natural tendency. And I do actually like the look, but it's kind of hard to get used to. So this one came out very, very blurry, which is what I've actually been enjoying following from artists who work in this medium. But it takes a little while for me to actually enjoy it. So I put it up in my classroom and I look at it every once in a while, and the more I look at it, the more I kind of like it. I kind of like those colors that are blended a little bit, but not completely, and the way that there isn't any detail in it, and the way the water kind of has that blurred look to it. I still had some paint left at this point and was wondering what to do with it, so I remembered the painting that I had started on my last video, which was nearby, and I went and got it. And I had thought that when I finished it that it didn't seem quite done, that it needed a little bit more contrast. It has a lot of texture, even more texture than my other textured painting up there in those trees. So I was rubbing that paint into the texture and into the cracks. I do like that look, and I think it's kind of working for it. I'm not sure if I actually finished it. I did use up the paint that I had meant to use up, but I'm not completely sure about the way that I'm doing those kind of the like water area at the bottom. I'm not sure about the bottom. Maybe it would benefit from a mat or a frame, or just generally not having the bottom show. I'm not sure. I do like the grasses that I scratched into it. I think that that's working out for it. And that's all I've got for this session, which is quite a bit actually. It's 4 small paintings, and they're mostly finished. They did change quite a lot. Some of them you can't see very much showing through from that first layer, and you can see that cracking that I miss a little bit in that one. That one changed probably the most. The entire color scheme is just completely different. I might want some of that purple back. And then this one quite a lot too. I hadn't planned anything when I started it. I was just showing someone how it worked. And so I didn't really have a plan. But like I said, it is kind of growing on me. And this one as well, I hadn't planned to work on it, but I kind of like the way that that texture shows a little bit better. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed today's video.